the moment, a city protest could have been torn apart in a mass casualty event. Now it's been declared an act of terror.
Was motivated by hateful, racist ideology.
It should have gone off. It had a fuse that was lit.
Hello, I'm Linton Besser. Welcome to Media Watch. And last Thursday, confirmation that an attempted bombing 9 days earlier of a peaceful Invasion Day protest in Perth will be prosecuted as an act of terrorism.
There are individuals and current and emerging groups across Australia, including in the West, which are eroding the country's social fabric.
A 31-year-old alleged white supremacist whose identity remains suppressed by the courts is the first person to be charged in Western Australia with terrorism, accused of tossing a homemade fragment bomb that thankfully failed to detonate into a crowd of more than 2,000 people.
Pure luck prevented an Australia Day massacre.
The gravity of the situation made plain the day of the attack by the WA Police Commissioner.
The device contained ball bearings, contained screws. This was responded to as a mass casualty event.
That night, Perth's television news went big on the story, every network running the bomb attack as its lead item.
This is the moment police believe they're running into what could be a mass casualty event. Officers spill into Forest Place from every direction.
Everybody please move back!
The crowd doesn't know what police have found, an improvised explosive device.
The following day, the West Australian was clear-eyed about the threat.
Australia Day shock.
Bomb thrown at January 26 protest.
So, how did others in the media treat the story? Over on breakfast television the next morning, there was much indignation.
Georgia, a really shameful act here during these protests.
Yeah, Eddie, absolutely. Shameful and disrespectful is how people are describing what we saw yesterday.
But I'm sorry to say that righteous anger had nothing to do with a nail-filled bomb.
Australia Day is supposed to be a day where we all come together, but instead it was division on display, especially at this rally in Brisbane. You'll be able to see an Indigenous man sets fire to the Australian flag.
Yes, what had lit a fire beneath Sunrise and its guests was not the near incineration of black bodies, but a black man incinerating a flag.
If someone burns the Australian flag, they obviously hate what Australia has to offer, so therefore they should have any Australian tax benefits from taxpayers cut. So Medicare, welfare.
The Sunrise News Bulletins carried the story, in WA particularly so, but when Natalie Barr's producers placed a federal minister in front of her, she had no fewer than 6 questions, not about the bomb, but the burning of the flag.
So turn the temperature down a little bit here, and that's what that's all about.
The Australian flag should be made illegal, Jason. So you don't think we should make it a federal offence?
Over on 9, the shocking event featured in today's news bulletins. But when Carl ran through what had tarred an otherwise lovely Australia Day,
there were some problems. Neo-Nazis declaring the Jew is our greatest enemy and pro-Palestinians chanting, globalise the Intifada. There was also an Aussie flag burned. How's that not illegal?
The attempted mass bombing of innocent Australians somehow fell out of his brain. Over on Sky News, Chris Kenny on the evening of the attack broke into his show to report the terrible news. But the following night, the network's roster of opinion makers gave far more prominence to everything else, including that flag burning.
Isn't it funny how anti-Australia activists want to burn the Australian flag, but you never see any of them setting fire to Centrelink money, do you?
And what about the newspapers that drive the agenda up and down the East Coast? While some of their websites did occasionally carry the story, we've used their print editions as a gauge of the importance each placed on this awful incident. And on that count, honourable mention must go to The Australian, which made room for the shocking attack on page 1 and stayed on the story as it unfolded over the week. Neither The Age nor the Sydney Morning Herald were able to lay the story into print in their Australia Day wraps because of oppressively early East Coast deadlines. But in the week that followed, the story failed to find a home in The Age's news pages. The day after the bomb was thrown, only one News Corp tabloid, the Courier Mail, ran a standalone story about the attack, though it was no match for that burning flag. Sydney's The Daily Telegraph decided it worthy of only a glancing mention and a single sentence in the very last line of this story about a divided day. While in Adelaide, Hobart, Cairns, Darwin, Townsville and the Gold Coast, there was not a word in the news pages about the attempt to bomb 2,000 mostly Indigenous protesters in the centre of a capital city for 8 days on the trot. Whatever coverage this story got and whatever outrage it prompted, it wasn't enough, as Lydia Thorpe declared in Parliament.
Decisions were made in newsrooms, in ministerial offices, in the daily rhythms of power about whether this was urgent, whether it mattered, whether our lives mattered.
First Nations academic and lawyer Eddie Sinnott put it like this.
If it were any other community, it would have been front page news. It would have been everywhere. It really feels like another reminder, to me at least, just how little care for our people there is.
When we asked these news organisations to explain their editorial priorities, not a single one of them did. Read into that what you will. Whatever challenges exist for a shrinking media in giving news from Perth its proper place, there really was no excuse for this appalling incident to have been so underplayed. The result? The Indigenous people of Australia left with that terrible and terribly familiar sense that their lives simply matter less. And now to the pursuit of wellness during Nine Radio's regular medical dispatch.
Now, right across Australia, it's time for Healthy Living with Dr. Ross Walker.
Sunday evenings, the ultimate telehealth consultation with resident cardiologist Dr. Ross Walker, who from time to time sings the praises of off-the-shelf supplements, including one very special product.
I'm a great believer in things like ubiquinol, which gives you energy, drives the mitochondria. I take ubiquinol every day just for fatigue, gives me energy.
The startling substance apparently works wonders, and not just for fatigue.
I've had tuberculosis and I've got a bit of a nerve issue.
Ubiquinol, 150 milligrams daily, can help rebuild the nerves in some cases.
I've got statin-induced myositis.
Are you taking ubiquinol?
This rather scientific endorsement is great news for the company that supplies ubiquinol, the Kaneka Corporation of Japan, which, it turns out, just happens to cut the odd cheque to a rather familiar friend.
Dr. Walker is a consultant for the Kaneka Corporation.
Actually, Dr. Walker is on pretty good terms with Kaneka, palling around with one of its executives, sharing in ubiquinol's glory. After all, it was created with his input, and enjoying the great honour of serving as chairman of Kaneka's Scientific Advisory Board, for which he trousers
an honorarium. Some members are additionally qualified and reimbursed to participate in healthcare practitioner education forums or commentary.
And when he extols the virtues of ubiquinol on TV, alongside his usual speaking and conference fees, he sometimes gets a little pocket money too. The disclosure of which, I'm sad to say, seems to have slipped his mind. Though, if you're not persuaded by Dr. Walker's expert opinion, don't worry, he is a geneticist on air beside him.
There is one particular nutrient called ubiquinol. As we age, our ubiquinol levels decline. So we want to think about getting that in to support the mitochondria.
I know, I'm thinking about it. And Dr. Finesse knows exactly where we might source these marvellous tablets, because she's also an advisor for a company called Pure Encapsulations, which, among other things, just happens to sell
Ubiquinol QH, $288.62.
And blow me down, the good doctor also sits on Kaneka's advisory board alongside, yes, Dr. Ross, copping free flights, accommodation and a little personal donation when out and about spruiking the wonders of ubiquinol. You little beauty. And Kaneka is delighted by the pair's efforts in the media, promoting to its great many followers on LinkedIn, all 1,200 of them, the Radio Gabfest, but neglecting to mention Walker and Finesse's rather special place in the ubiquinol universe. Cardiologist, Clinical Associate Professor Aston Lee told us ubiquinol is not officially recommended for care of the heart, and evidence of its efficacy
is modest at best. It certainly does not improve hard cardiovascular outcomes. It may improve some of the muscular ache side effects of patients on statins. There is a lack of clear clinical research evidence of its benefits.
Why am I not surprised? When we asked questions of Ross Walker and Denise Furness, a public relations agency representing Canica responded on their behalf and made this concession.
Steps are now being taken to guide on ensuring clearer and more consistent disclosure where relevant and practical.
And as for Nine Radio, crickets. I have no doubt that Dr Walker and Dr Furness store great faith in their favourite supplement, but you'd forgive others their scepticism. Not least because neither of these experts, nor the radio stations which broadcast them, deigned to let consumers know of ubiquinol's other little side effect, the improvement in their bank balance. Though last night, after our nasty intervention, it seems that all changed.
There's a thing called ubiquinol, and I just have to mention this, that I do have an association with the company who makes ubiquinol, not the company that makes the products, but the people who make the ingredients.
Red faces perhaps, but a win for consumers. And now to the jungle gym that is Canberra, where certain Tory MPs, whose first names start with the same letter, have for months been climbing over each other for dominion over a shrinking slice of Parliament, and doing so in a rather subtle and, dare I say it, artful way.
Have a look at this large book on his desk in the chamber. It's a rather large copy of The Art of War by Sun Tzu. Let's be real. Hastie knew exactly what he was doing today.
No, really? Though Hastie assured us his choice of reading was but a coincidence.
I enjoy reading strategic thinkers, and I'm keen to deepen my understanding of Chinese thought. That's all.
Since the election, a Shakespearean tragedy, or is that comedy, has been unfolding on the opposition benches, with defections, divisions and attempts to dislodge its leader. The boards being expertly trod by the Liberal Party's ex-soldier pin-up, Andrew Hastie, and this macho, made in Australia, 1969 Ford Falcon.
It's horsepower, it's heritage, it's grit with cars. We used to say, race them on a Sunday, sell them on a Monday. And it wasn't just a slogan, it was a way of life. We don't do that anymore. We're a nation of flat white makers.
Shit! As 2025 drew to a close, Andrew Hastie quit the front bench, explaining that his departure had nothing to do, heaven forfend, with destabilising Susan Lee, but merely to carve out time to pen a policy manifesto. 113 days later, however, came this dramatic news.
Family gives Andrew Hastie blessing to enter the Liberal leadership race.
And how did the press learn of this volte-face?
Sources close to Mr Hastie confirmed his wife Ruth said she was fully supportive of him.
Sources close to? Just how close are we talking? Meanwhile, Hastie's putative rival Angus Taylor was chewing on steak and devilish cinema with the Daily Telegraph.
Now, I heard you're a sucker, actually, for Devil Wears Prada movie. Is that true?
It is absolutely right. It's one of my favourite movies.
Then jetting home from a summer sojourn in frosty Europe, just in time to man the barbecue on Australia Day. A lover of the continent and Meryl Streep, perhaps, but still a man of the people. The Taylor-Hastie rivalry reached boiling point when, by some miracle, Channel 7 happened upon the ambitious up-and-comer during a casual coastal jog.
Straight up. Is your hand up for the job to replace Susan Lee?
I'm just not commenting on any of these things today.
Would you like to see a step aside rather than a spill?
How are you doing there, Ross?
Decorated former press gallery photographer Andrew Mears told us every Canberra putsch is a merry waltz between willing partners.
Pollies and the media scratch each other's backs. The pollies get more recognition through causing chaos. The media get more attention documenting the drama.
After Andrew Hastie resigned from the challenge, last week I wanted to ask him about his appearances in the media in recent times, but he was too busy to talk. Instead, he sent me this rather mysterious text and video, and yes, he really did.
I'd probably credit director Christopher Nolan with this insight from Batman Begins.
Ninjutsu employs explosive powders.
As weapons?
Or distractions. Theatricality and deception are powerful agents. You must become more than just a man in the mind of your opponent.
Hi, Sensei. The other book Hastie brought into the chamber last week was Sicilian Uncles. But there's another Italian, not from Sicily, but Florence, that I think Andrew Hastie might prefer. Niccolo Machiavelli, who proclaimed that he who seeks to deceive will always find a willing sucker. And that's all from us tonight. Be sure to check us out on ABC iView as well as YouTube and Facebook. You can find full statements on our website. And don't forget to send us your tips. See you next week.